Hello and welcome to a very special Beyond Bulbasaur. I like that it says actual recording is in higher quality.
Yeah, it's like things in the radar Romeo might be closer than they appear.
So I'm here. I'm your host Kendall. With me is Jordan and Mike. Basically, among you're lucky that I'm going to release this episode. But basically, I got this new subscription to Riverside, and wanted to actually record a podcast with some pros before I unleash it on my regular co-hosts. But it's March, and which March means March Madness, when a bunch of basketball teams get together in a 16 team bracket, and I guess people vote on Twitter as to who's the better team. I don't know much about sports
and gamble.
Yeah, something like that. But Beyond Bulbasaur is about Pokemon. And in my head the other day, I did some math and calculated that there are 16 characters in Pokemon Gen 1 that deserve recognition, or like are unique people who also have Pokemon, I guess, is the criteria. And today we're going to decide who's the best. I've got the bracket broken down into 4 categories: early game gym leaders, late game gym leaders, Elite Four, and miscellaneous. Jordan, how'd you prepare for this show tonight?
I basically went back in my mind of how many times I played it, and then I realized I forgot to ask if we were just going to go with the just original Game Boy things, the GBA Fire Red and Leaf Green versions, later games, anime, and I'm like, well, I guess we can talk about that for fun's sake, and we'll just worry about what we want and what we
the
want
criteria
later.
are.
And then I also wondered, like, wait, do we have to worry about any of the actual like concerns about, like, oh well, back in Gen 1, you didn't have to worry about the how broken Ghost or like Psychic was, or
Psychic type,
or is that going to be a factor? And I guess, well, if someone's listening and wants that, thankfully there are resources out there for them to look it up.
Well, yeah, the good news is, anytime that I mean, this is true of my top 8 podcasts about Star Wars cards, but just in general, anytime I host a podcast where we're ranking things or deciding what's the best or whatever, the criteria is whatever the criteria you want it to be. So, that's why I made sure there were an odd number of us, so that we won't be deadlocked.
Good idea.
Mike, how'd you prepare?
I traveled far and wide, searching everywhere. I just pulled up a wiki of what the Pokemon. I mean, I played freaking so much Pokemon back in the day: Red, Blue, Fire, Red, Yellow. So
I'm about to probably play the Red, Blue again because I got them on 3DS. I finally got like all the Virtual Console versions that you get on 3DS for them, and I want to go through them at some point.
Oh yeah,
they're fun. I mean, or play them on an Android phone with ×4 speed. It's also wonderful. Or ×2 speed, I think it was, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I played with I did 2 times speed when I played the Twitch Plays Pokemon hack recently, and got that's the only time I've ever completed a Pokedex. Because you can, in that, if you guys are into those things,
I remember someone asked me recently, like, and I had to check, and I think I've only really honestly completed the Pokedex in, well, now it's like 5 games because I got Scarlet and Violet, Scarlet, but like I did it in XY. I did it in, I think, I did it in did the Hoenn one, the original Kanto one, and the Aloha. So that's like 4 that I got. But I
That's pretty
didn't
good.
realize I actually got through the end game in a lot of the games, and I didn't realize
Mhm.
that because in my mind, the game's completed when I got completed the Pokedex.
That's impressive.
Yeah, for me, the game's completed. It varies, but like for the most part, for me, I think you it's completed when you have when you've beaten the train, the trainers, whether it's
Mhm.
Elite Four or whatever post game storylines there are, and then caught all the legendaries with certain exceptions. Like I don't think you
Yeah.
have to catch the ones that some games that have like 17 different legendaries. I don't think it counts. But anyway,
I mean,
um,
they've added a bunch of legendaries to Scarlet and Violet now,
mhm,
technically, but they're not even
yeah.
like they don't get Pokedex entries.
My mistake with Scarlet and Violet was that I bought the physical version, or I got the physical version as a gift, and what that means is that I was allowed to play it for like the couple weeks while I was actively playing it, and then it came out of the Switch and Mario Kart went back in. And I'm not allowed to take Mario Kart out. Uh, cool. So, oh, and also for the record, actually, I'm kind of curious, Mike. Have you ever completed a Pokedex?
I don't think so. Maybe back in the day, probably back in Red and Blue, but that's it.
Uh huh. Yeah. The only time I ever completed a Pokedex was in that Twitch Plays Pokemon hack, which basically it allows you to it made all 150 Pokemon obtainable within one version, and also including like you can catch a wild Bulbasaur and stuff,
That's
and
nice.
basically spread the Pokemon out so that like every single grassy area had like 15 different Pokemon you could catch, and then it had like everything was higher level throughout the whole game, and it had like a sort of like a victory lap like you had in Gen 2, but this time it was it was just replaying the same gym leaders, but all of their Pokemon were level 100, and then the game ends by with the final boss of Professor Oak. uh, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but that's okay. Anyway, but we're not talking about that. I mean, we are talking about Pokemon, and if we get off track, that's fine. This is just for fun, but yeah. So I did seed because that's how brackets work. I seeded the early game gym leaders: Misty, Brock, Erica, and Surge. I had Misty as first seed, Brock as second seed, Surge as third seed, Erica as fourth seed. If you disagree with that, well, then it is what it is. So we're gonna start with the first seed versus the 4 seed because that's how brackets work. See, I know how sports
Yeah.
are. Um, Misty versus Erica. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
So in general, I kind of feel just out of like what people know, if even in just general what they know about Pokemon, Misty has an edge. Because she's like a longtime companion character in the anime, so a lot of kids who grew up watching the series know who she is. They've updated her look a couple of times, and she's been and like I really do like how she looks in like Fire Red and Leaf Green, but also like what they when they brought out the remakes of Gold and Silver, like Heart Gold and Soul Silver and stuff like that. It was like, and like you find out that in that game when you do the like you said the post game stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you can go and fight her again, and she has an updated look in there, and I thought that was kind of cool. Um, but I don't know, like it's also kind of like I think maybe one of the See, I always went with grass type to start with, so fighting her was really easy. So like,
Yeah.
and I think I might like I might be like one of the people who's kind of more odd as a kid. Like as a young kid, I was odd because I didn't go with fire and red is cool, and so like I didn't have to go like, oh well, before I fight this, I'm gonna have to go catch some other Pokemon and stuff like that. I could just barrel through and win. So so it's not really that hard of a battle. While Erica for if you had Charizard was pretty quick and easy as well, and that she was harder for me. So I don't know. Like
By the time you fight Erica, you're equipped to deal with her
yeah
Pokemon.
Yeah, you have a lot more Pokemon.
yeah.
Where
So-
Misty is early, and I don't think you the only grass type, if you don't grab Bulbasaur, that you're gonna have is Oddish or Weeping or
Yeah.
Bellsprout.
Yeah, and you might have a Pikachu.
So
But
Oh yeah, you're like 3% chance in Viridian Forest you run into a Pikachu.
God,
that was back when catching a Pikachu meant something.
and he was the chunky one. But yeah, so it's I mean just for nostalgia's sake, I probably would go with Misty over Erica. If they were like straight up fighting each other, I think Erica would beat Misty though.
Yeah, I mean, so I would say if you want to say if it was a tiebreaker, like if these were two equally important characters, you could go down to who would win in a fight. But yeah, I don't really think that's not how I'm gonna. I mean, you can choose your own vote. You can vote how you want to vote.
You want it based on off their Pokemon?
Just whatever criteria you want.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that my vote is not gonna be determined by who has the type advantage.
So
unless it's really close, and we have to come down to that. But Mike, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I did want to say at least I gotta give some credit to Erica for being at least. I mean, as a kid, like when I played these games, I was just becoming a weeb. So the whole like Japanese kimonos and like Ikebana flower arranging and stuff like that. He's learning. It's like that's a cool. Like it's basically like, oh, that's cool that they kind of still kept that without too localization into that. Oh, they are a gardener who sells flowers. Like they didn't just completely Americanize, whitewash what Erica's gym was. Like I think that's a neat little thing. But yeah, I probably would lean towards Misty in a matchup.
Okay. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna say Erica because I'm going by the type difference. I mean, she has grass Pokemon, they're water Pokemon. Of course, she's gonna. I mean, in my opinion, she would win easily. That's how I'm gonna base it on. Plus, I don't like Misty in the first game, so I liked Erica better. I also just liked Erica, and I like her Pokemon. She has Victreebel, Vileplume, Tangela. She has better Pokemon than Staryu and Starmie, and depending on we could say Psyduck, like much better Pokemon. So
I can agree with that. Yeah, that's a good lineup.
So okay, well, if we're talking about their Pokemon, I think that actually most of the grass type Pokemon in Gen 1 are pretty weak. In particular, the Vileplume and Victreebel lines, but
those are decent.
That's not why
I beat the Elite Four with a Vileplume before. So
I don't like them. And I mean, I particularly don't like playing with those two because they because you have to evolve them with a leaf stone, so it's like really awkward.
Actually there is no leaf stone.
Way late.
It's trading.
No, it's the leaf stone.
Is it the leaf stone? I thought it was trading in the first game.
Yes.
No.
Never mind. No, Kendall's right. Wow, it's been a long time.
The trading Pokemon are
Machamp,
Alakazam, and Golem.
Okay, it's been a long time.
Oh, and Gengar.
It's okay. Well, okay. So my take on Erica versus Misty, first of all, we're gonna be talking about Misty some more. I think probably unless you guys gang up on me. But my thing with Erica is like, so is on top, kind of on top of everything else. Like the only thing that I actively remember about her is that when you meet her, she starts talking to you and then falls asleep. and then it's like, okay, you wanted to battle? Oh, I didn't realize you wanted to battle. Okay, we can battle. Like she was like very aloof and like above it all. I don't find her likable. I don't find her particularly. Also, like if you're talking about difficulty, usually I skip her. And because I like forcing the out of order sequencing in games like this.
Oh yeah, you can.
So a lot of times I don't even fight her until after I've beaten Sabrina and Koga. So my Pokemon are like level 50.
So she's nice and easy
by the time I go fight her. Yeah. So she's And if not, like I have a because also there's flying type. You either have a flying type or you have a fire type or you have something that can just spam them. Yeah. And also Misty, the other Pokemon that Misty has that like really sparked my imagination as a kid is in the anime. Misty has Togepi.
Yeah, that was in the anime.
Who was introduced well before
Gold and Silver.
Gen 2. So we'll go ahead and lock in votes here because we got a lot more matchups to hit. I'm my vote's for Misty.
Mine's for Misty as well.
Jordan?
Mine's Erica.
Okay. So Misty wins. All right. Next, we have Brock versus Lieutenant Surge. Brock, another companion in the anime, who
comes back,
has this rock type Pokemon. Also, he's a misogynist weirdo.
Wait, Brock was or
yeah.
or do you mean a creep?
Yeah,
because there's a difference.
Or a creep.
Okay,
yeah,
creep is more accurate.
Okay.
Because
okay. Yeah.
I mean, he's not as bad as some anime perverts, thankfully. And because like they always balance it because it was like this is more of a kids show, so they didn't do full on things. Not that I would say like some of the things he did was pretty much there, and I don't know. It's like one of those things. Like you go back and you look at some of the history and the stories, and you've got interesting stuff like in the anime about his family, about how his dad. Like later episodes, they actually did bring his mom back. Like he actually confronted his mom and stuff like that, and like his family and stuff like that, and how he pretty much was like the only one in the group at first who knew how to cook and take care of themselves. So it was a good thing he was a companion.
That's a good point.
Like because he took care of his family for so long, like he at least knew how to be self-sufficient for a bit. But yeah, like the hitting on women thing does get old very fast sometimes.
It just and I feel like that's like just sort of, and then also like I'm sorry, but Onyx isn't that great of a Pokemon.
No,
not at all.
And
so
and then you have, on the other hand, you have Surge. Now Surge, he's got some problems too. Which I'll let you guys have your piece, but I'm starting.
Sure, go
I'm
ahead.
Starting off here. Surge has some problems too. He first of all, his gym has the most annoying puzzle in like all games ever, where you have to find the button underneath the trash can and you just sit there for and there's no rhyme or reason to it except for they're next to each other. So you pretty much just have to like wait until you've mathematically eliminated every single other one. It's pretty rough. And he's pretty mean in the anime. But I do like, I feel like as a kid, that like tension of like, is he gonna evolve Pikachu, or does what about Pikachu not wanting to evolve? And
because this was the first time they did it in the anime.
Yeah,
sorry,
that was kind of
it. I was talking with someone, and it like becomes a trope. Is like, is he going to evolve Pikachu again, or something like that? But like you said, like this is the first time they did it. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah. Also, the other thing that's probably the thing that puts Surge over the edge for me is he talks about fighting in the war,
yeah,
which
yeah,
Yes.
I love that. Like
which leads to the idea of like there was that we're in this like post nuclear war era in the Pokemon, and that's why the Pokemon are all weird, and that's why there's not that many adult males throughout the games
The
and
war that
all
is
that, that sort of
never mentioned again.
conspiracy theory and everything. I think I like it.
I think it was a translation error. I think.
so,
I don't know.
but so that's the thing though, is that I love like in the early, like in Red and Blue, he was the Lightning American. Like that was
Uh-huh.
it in Japanese. Like
Oh,
it was
that's
like
true. That's
so,
true. I
and
didn't
like
think
so
about
like
that.
even if like they changed it in Fire Red and Leaf Green, they pulled back and stuff, and but this was like before they actually were like, oh, we have an actual like game world with history and stuff like that, and Hoenn over in this region actually compared to Kanto and Johto and stuff like that. Like this was before they did any of that. So some of that early stuff, even though it makes no sense, is just really also interesting because of what they said and could do. Because I mean, yeah, can you imagine using Pokemon in a war? I mean,
there's
like
there's
like
a lot of
in
fanfic for that out there for you.
Well, I thought that the theory was that the Pokemon appeared after the war.
Well, he said, doesn't he
Um,
say like a Pokemon saved his life in the war?
Oh,
Yeah,
does
he
he?
does.
Does he say that? Okay,
So
maybe they appeared in the middle of the war. I don't know. I haven't like
It's
No,
looked
the
but-
into it
only
that
sentence
much,
that reference a war in the entire thing, and it's never
Yeah.
mentioned again. It wasn't supposed to be there. I'm assuming.
well, yeah, like it's just back then it was like, oh wait, mate, we don't want that to be in our story of of the world of Pokemon anymore. So we'll just pretend we never said it and forget it forever. But
Right.
nope, fans are not going to forget that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Brock is a dumbass and an idiot, even though his Pokemon technically, his Pokemon technically would win against Surge, but since we're not really doing that, I'm just gonna say, you know what, Surge all the way, just because. Well,
As long as Raichu didn't set off the sprinklers.
I forgot about that dumb shit in the show. Yeah, I'm gonna go Surge just because Brock is an idiot. He's a freaking creep. So yeah, I don't want him in our bracket. So
Okay, before we lock in our votes, Jordan, any final defenses on this matchup?
Jeez, no, I mean, I kind of like the fact I know Onyx is not the best, but I do kind of like rock ground types and stuff like that, and how they introduced Steel was like having in the comics was they had a Steelix pretend to be an Onyx by just basically like floating rocks around it, so they just kept saying it, oh, it's just an odd looking Onyx. So everyone just thought it was rock ground, but it was steel type. I think it's a kind of a cool, funny thing that they've done. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna really put up much of a fight here. While I'll probably vote
Okay.
for Brock, I'm not gonna try and sway
Okay.
you guys from Surge.
Yeah, I think I talked myself into it that I'm gonna vote for Surge. Jordan, so Jordan, you're on Brock,
Yeah.
and Mike, are you still on Surge?
still on Surge.
All right, so there's our first upset of the night. Lieutenant Surge defeats Brock in triple overtime with a 3-point foul shot. All right. We'll come back to, so it's going to be Misty versus Surge in the whatever that is, quarterfinals or top 8 or whatever. But yeah, the quarterfinals, I guess, is how that would be. But once we get to the Elite 8, Elite 8, because it's like Elite 4. But so now these next two are going to be interesting. So we have late game gym leaders. Blaine versus Koga, our 1 seed versus our 4 seed. I had Blaine as the 1 seed, but
Okay.
Mike, why don't you start us off on this?
I'm gonna say Blaine. First, partly because he has cooler Pokemon. One, I never liked Koga. I don't like the fact that he has poison in Pokemon. I don't like his gym where he's like, I'm a ninja, and you got hidden walls. Don't like anything about him. So, and Blaine, you get to actually go through a cool gym, or you go to his gym, you can't get in, you got to go to the mansion and find the key. He's got cool fire Pokemon that you might not even have, you wouldn't even have seen depending on what version you're playing. So he's just completely better than Koga. So Blaine. And it's a city in Minnesota, so he gets the extra point right there for that. It's a city called Blaine.
All right, Jordan, where are you at here?
So, Koga's still kind of like, I mean, especially for kids, like Ninja, like especially during like the beginning of the 90s, he had the Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, and like I know for the same reasons that Mike hated the invisible walls, that I know a lot of people were like, oh, this is so cool, it's a ninja, but I have to be honest, I was more of a nerd and liked Blaine because I just think it was funny that he did Pokemon quizzes through it. And later on, like as I like kept into other things and stuff like that, I found out that the Pokemon card game had Blaine quiz cards where you basically would play his card and it had a Pokemon quiz trivia question on it. And if the person got it right, or like the trainer got it right, like it basically was like a thing. It was like you play on someone, and if they got the question right, nothing bad happened to them. But if they got it wrong, they got there. So you would like play it against people like who you knew who didn't know like the Pokedex and stuff like that. And it was Pokedex questions like what is the height of of Charmander in the Kanto Pokedex kind of things. Like I always thought it was like that is absolutely the jerkiest way to try and test Pokemon people, but at the same time I love it because it just shows that sometimes people have to learn to look outside than what they're narrowly focusing on. And like Mike says, like I really do like his lineup of Pokemon in the game. Like the fire Pokemon are always kind of really great. I love Arcanine and Growlithe. They're such good doggos, and just
They are.
And I don't know, like I do kind of have to give it to Koga that he actually like graduates to the Elite Four in Gen 2.
Right.
But I still kind of like Blaine better anyways. Plus, like I said, he's in the anime and stuff like that. He's kind of like a crazy old man, and I really do like those types of characters.
So I will say, Koga has it's a really, the Fuchsia City is such an interesting part of the game because every other gym leader in Gen 1, it has like a very cut and dry elemental type Pokemon. Ground, water, or I mean rock, water, electric, grass, etc. I could name them all, but I'm tired. Actually, ground is later, but so poison and sleep types is an interesting thing for Koga. Also I like, he's in with Sabrina and Erica in that era, in that middle part of the game where the world really opens up and you can kind of do it in any order, and like that's something that happens all the time in games now. I don't know how often it happened in games back then, but I didn't play that many games back then, and so that was like one of my core experiences of like forcing the game to go out of order. And I always felt like that was, I was smart enough to realize that like if you fight your Pokemon against level 40 Pokemon, they're going to get more experience than level 20 Pokemon. But the thing it comes down to is Blaine has the best episode, or at least the best moment in all of the anime, when he Ash fight, Ash loses to him at the beginning of the episode, and then he saves the day, whatever he does. Obviously the best episode. I remember exactly what he does. And at the end, he's like, Ash, though, you did a great job. I'm gonna give you a reward. And he's like, are you gonna give me the gym badge? And he's like, no. Why would I give you the gym badge? No, I'm gonna let you try to beat me again. And then, which I love, because up to that point in the show, like, even as a kid, well, especially as a kid, because I was, follow the rules type, but like, it really bugged me that Ash didn't actually beat the gym leaders most of the time, and or ever. I think the only ones that he beats are Blaine, and then he fights Team Rocket in Giovanni, because Giovanni has just gotten his butt kicked by Mewtwo or something, or maybe he's like taking a coffee break. I forget what that episode is, but anyway.
That's
And
the
it's
movie.
For some reason, Ash ends up fighting Team Rocket. But like, and also it's a great episode because of the Charizard. That's when like Charizard starts actually listening to him and does all the great stuff. So it sounds like we're unanimous on Blaine.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't be sorry. He deserves it.
All right.
So have you seen his fight in Heart Gold and Soul Silver? By the way, he gets a hat and cane. Like he.
I'm sure
I have.
I'm sure I've seen it. I have played, or no, I haven't played through Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
I never have either.
Those are two of the only ones I have.
They're fun.
It's on my list.
I played through regular Gold and Silver.
I freaked out because I realized when I was looking through like the games I have on one of the Pokewalkers that I got for like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I actually put Mew on there. I'm like, oh no, because like the battery's dead. I'm like, oh no, does that mean I lost it? Like, no, there's a thing in there that kind of holds the memory and stuff like that. Like like not even like an internal battery thing you have to worry about. Like there's just like a data bit in there to keep things. So at worst, like I'll just like lose what steps I might have had before the last time I updated it between the game and itself.
So Giovanni versus Sabrina. This one's kind of interesting. Giovanni, of course, one of the more developed characters in the game, versus Sabrina, who's got with the psychic type. We'll start with you, Jordan. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Sabrina kind of always freaked me out in the anime. Like she had like turning people into dolls and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Was, I don't know, like it was like it was one of those things where like the show went unusually hard or like creepy or out of tone for a kid's show that just kind of stuck with me. But in terms of just like the game, I didn't really have that much trouble, and I was playing the games like when the anime was coming out a bit too, so like I was thinking, oh, I'll use ghost type like Ash did, and that's not actually a good strategy in Gen 1, because
there's no ghost type moves.
Yeah, and
isn't there like one?
And they're poison type.
Yeah, and like trying to use poison against psychic. Well, psychic's also good against poison, so
it's terrible.
So it's not.
Is Dream Eater ghost type?
I think so, but it's been a long time.
I'm pretty sure it's psychic.
But psychic is good against psychic in Gen 1.
Yeah, so like for like my original setup, like I had a Butterfree that basically had Sleep Powder and Dream Eater. Like it was I basically called it my psychic vampire because that's all I used it for at most times. So that's how I did most of the battle with her. Giovanni, like, I mean, he kind of makes like an interesting looking character. In the game, you don't really I mean, other than knowing him as like, oh, he's the head of Team Rocket, you don't really get much to deal with him. Like a few things, so the but you get more from him than you do some of the other gym leaders. So, like, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a neat thing that it turns out, oh no, the leader of Team Rocket is actually a gym leader. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like a lot of the stuff for him that just kind of seems more interesting is just stuff that came from the anime or much later that I learned
Right.
about things. I mentioned I forget if this was off mic about how one of the games I got all the way through was uh was the Alola Pokemon game. So like Pokemon Ultra Moon actually, and they had the Team Rainbow Rocket like expansion kind of thing, post game stuff where like they had like a virtual reality thing where like he got the the heads of the evil teams of all previous Pokemon games, and he basically was like trying to take over this like area. So you kind of got to run into him, like mess around with him back then, and that was kind of interesting and stuff like that. But I don't know, like other than just like he's a pretty tough character, I don't really, I don't know.
So here's my piece on it. So first of all, Sabrina um is largely forgettable. I kind of, now that you mention it, I kind of remember her from the anime being a little bit extra creepy.
Yeah, she is.
But Giovanni's kind of like, the more I think about it, he's one of my all-time favorite Pokemon characters. Um in Origins that they did, I think it came out around the same time as X and Y. Really good little anime short miniseries that was basically like actually telling the story of Red, going through and actually beating the Elite Four and getting the 150 Pokemon and catching Mewtwo and everything, like like a more direct adaptation of the game. Um, that's also where that meme that had where uh like Squirtle or somebody was biting Charmander's tail and he was like screaming. But it it recontextualized the final fight with Giovanni, um where Giovanni like is realizing that, sort of the error of his ways, and he's like and in the anime he's like remembering how he used to be a young idealistic trainer, and then at some point it became about power and money and everything, and he needs to go rethink his life. And he does say that in in Red and Blue from the beginning, like that he's got to go rethink his life, and he has to, and that's why he disappears and he's not there in Gen 2 when you're fighting Team Rocket. But I don't know, it's kind of always stuck with me as like, this is the, you die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain. Like he's got, he has that sort of story to him. Like there's just more to him than there is Sabrina. So my vote's for Giovanni.
Okay. I'm going to go with Sabrina. I like her Pokemon. I like Psychic a lot. I mean, everything you said is valid, but I've never really cared for Giovanni. So, I'm going for Sabrina. And I just like that name, too, Sabrina. Teenage Witch.
Jordan's the deciding vote.
So I also have to say that a lot of things I liked about Sabrina was just because of her sprite work. And again, like I just remembered like looking up in Heart Gold and Silver where she looks like she's a psychic raver, because she has these like wrist things that she makes glow, and it's supposed to be with like power, blah blah. But no, I think I'd have to go with Giovanni just from how, as a mainstay, he comes back again and again. How he's still even a character in Johto by just not being there.
Mm-hmm. Right. He's that's a good point. Him not being in Gen 2 is and he is a more important character in Gen 2 not being there than than Sabrina is, and she actually is there.
So like story wise, I'm leaning more towards Giovanni.
All right. So our late game gym leaders. We'll see who wins between Blaine and Giovanni in just a little bit. Now it's time for the Elite Four. Lance versus Bruno. Lance, the dragon trainer, versus Bruno, the guy that has the fighting guys. Mike, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm gonna go right away with Lance. I have always liked dragon Pokemon because I just love dragons in general ever since I was a little kid. So I immediately thought he was cooler. And two, I mean, one, he's the final Elite Four. He's also one of the Grand Masters in some of the other games later on. He's just a really cool character that sticks around for a long time in different iterations of Pokemon. And Bruno, I don't think really is around as much. Plus, I really don't like rock Pokemon.
Bruno gets replaced by Koga, right?
I believe so. What's...
It's been a while since I played.
And Koga didn't even get through the first round.
So yeah, I just like Lance a lot. I've always liked Dragon Pokemon, so yeah, Lance for me.
Mike likes Lance a lot better than King Arthur.
That too. That's why I played as in the Night's Round games for Nintendo. I always pick Lance a lot.
All right, Jordan, what are your thoughts?
I just had to double check. I think Bruno's still part of the Elite Four in Johto. I forget who he. I think it's Agatha who steps down.
I think he's right. I can't.
But I don't know. But anyways, so like Mike says, I kind of like Lance because like Dragon was kind of like a really cool thing, and also it was the like one type that's hard to find in the game. Like Dragon is always rare and hard to encounter. Like, I don't think you find out or get the idea that, oh yeah, Ice is it. Was Ice even back in Gen 1? Was Ice?
Ice is in Gen 1, yes, but there's not a lot.
No. I mean, like, it was that like they had to rebalance Dragon was because that's why they. I know that's one of the main reasons why Fairy is an owl type, but no, I think Ice was still super effective against it. It was like Ice and Dragon were like the only known things to fight that were good against Dragon back then.
Yes.
And so it was a tough battle, and it kind of made sense because he was like the top of the Elite Four. And story wise, he comes back in in the Johto games. He's running around. I find it absolutely funny that he basically started the idea that all Dragon Tamer, like there's a class of Pokemon trainers that are like Dragon Masters or Dragon Tamers, and they all wear capes to this day. Like even in Scarlet and Violet, sometimes you will find I am an elite Dragon Tamer. Like I only use Dragon Pokemon, and they will be dressed like Lance. Like they will have a cape and the whole thing. Like if you think about it, like they still do that, and it's hilarious.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like the whole. I also kind of like how they expounded there is actually like a town that's based around Dragon Tamers that he's from, and that's where he lives in Johto. Like in Johto, that's where he comes from. That's where his family is.
Right. That's where where you catch the red Gyarados, right?
Right. And yeah. Like I find it interesting and stuff like that. I feel bad though for Bruno. Like he seems like a great every kind of like down to earth, like strength and fight and learn and work and train. I loved that they did that trope when they met him in the anime where like he's just like because like Brock was like looks up to him I think and he's like doing something and Brock's like but he's such a great great fighting master that he's always attuned to everything around him. Watch, I'll throw this rock at him, and even though he's not paying attention, he'll stop it, and then he just hits him on the head with a rock. It's like
so just for the record, I did Google, and not only is Bruno in the Elite Four in Johto, I guess it's technically still the Indigo. It's still technically the Kanto Elite Four, but not only is he in it, he is actually the only one that carries over.
Oh, okay.
Because you fight the Elite Four are Will, Koga, Bruno, and Karen.
Huh. So, he's kind of like a good anchor thing, but I just don't think he's showy enough over Lance. I like Lance much better.
I think Bruno is the Elite Four member who I have lost to the least.
That's fair.
I think
Because
that's true for me too.
once you beat once your Pokemon are strong enough to beat Lorelei, then chances are you have like a flying type or something. There's a lot of things that fighting is weak to, and there's not a lot that it's strong against in Gen 1. So like chances are you have somebody who can just sweep him once your Pokemon are strong enough to beat Lorelei. But then Agatha can be tricky and so on. But yeah, basically he's definitely the easiest member of the Elite Four to beat. Lance is epic. Yeah, I mean there's a reason that I've seeded him last. So it sounds like we're all on Lance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like I said,
Okay.
like he seems like a good guy, like straightforward, anchor, like like he's like someone you can depend on. He's the bro who will, when you're moving, he'll bring the truck, and probably
And he
carry
does have
and he'll bring the Machamp movers.
yeah, and he does have. I mean, yeah, Machamp's a great Pokemon. Like Machamp, he has both. He has Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, who are two of my favorite Pokemon. But yeah, he can't compare to two Dragonairs and a Dragonite.
No, we cannot. Not at all.
I love that Lance has 3 of the same Pokemon in his in his team because they didn't have enough, and they didn't think like to just give him a Charizard or something.
That's because Charizard
And then-
isn't technically a dragon type.
Well,
Not
yeah,
yet.
but neither is
I think
Gyarados
it's just-
technically.
Yeah.
But
No.
And neither is Aerodactyl, but
right, exactly. But they could have given. I don't know. They could have probably given him a better team in Gen 1, and I feel like in the later generations they probably do. So next up we have Agatha versus Lorelei. This is a tough one for me. I'll let whose turn is it to start? Is it?
I forget too.
I mean, I haven't exactly been doing it in any particular
No,
order.
why don't you go first, Kendall?
Why don't I go first? Okay, so I'll talk through it. So Agatha, of course, used to date Professor Oak, which is pretty awesome. He's just playing with his Pokedex. So there's a masturbation joke in Pokemon, which that's pretty great that they were able to get that through. Lorelei, like she is a great first opponent in the Elite Four. Like that Dugong that she's got, like you gotta be careful. Unfortunately she has Jinx, so she loses some points there. But I like her a lot, but also I think Agatha is like, and like I said, like we were talking about Gen 2, like them not being in Gen 2 and having an impact. I have a headcanon as to why Agatha is not in the Elite Four anymore, that she retired because she's old. Lorelei, did she get fired for losing to Pikachu too many times? Like because the people were playing with their yellow version and they killed her with Pikachu a lot. I don't know. like I like her and she's probably the Elite Four member that I've died to the most. But I do think it's Agatha by a hair. Where are you at, Jordan?
This one's very tough. Like you said, like by Johto, she kind of just disappears. In Fire Red and Leaf Green, they kind of like give a hint a little bit more, and because there's extra stuff that they added, like the Civi Islands and stuff like that, and they kind of like have her show up there and stuff like that. And as I said, like during deep dives and finding stuff like this, I find one of the funniest shipping things is like her and Misty, and it's called breast shipping because of where Misty's eyes are all the time when she's talking to Lorelei. But I don't know, like just like
But the ship, that's still a ship. But there's a ship with Agatha too.
yeah, like but
There's
yeah, like
Agatha
I
and
said,
Oak is kind of a ship.
like Ghost Pokemon is like one of my all-time favorite things about Pokemon because they go so crazy sometimes. The I just love some of the craziness that they do with Ghost Pokemon, the things there, and just like spirits in general that they do. And I really kind of like I said, like I liked Blaine because he was a crotchety old man. I like Agatha because she's a crotchety old woman. They just she badmouths Oak. She's like just like and I don't know, like the only other thing that I can say in type in this makes this also hard is the fact that I also kind of like this Lorelai's business suit uh office casual kind of like combinations in her sprite with like business suit top and pencil skirt and stuff like that is a really cool look to me. So
Okay.
I really like her sprites and stuff like that, but
Okay, well let's hear Mike's
yeah.
take before we lock in our votes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Lorelei because I like ice Pokemon. I never really cared for ghost Pokemon, and I still don't care for ghost Pokemon. They've never been my thing. So I have to go with Lorelei. I mean, she has Lapras. Lapras is one of my favorite Pokemon as a kid. I could care less for Jinx. I never liked Jinx, but I like Lapras.
Yeah.
I like Slowbro. I like
Dugong. She gets extra points for Lapras, but then loses points for Jinx.
Yeah, but still, ice Pokemon are just cooler to me than ghost Pokemon. So I'm going Lorelei. And I like the name.
Jordan, I want to hear your vote before I lock mine in.
I think I just like Agatha just a little bit more. It's a really tough choice for me though.
Okay.
Like this is honestly
this is definitely the closest one that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, it's got to be Agatha. I feel bad because my pick has won every time, but I mean, I guess that's just I guess because I'm right.
I wouldn't go that far now. Come on, but
okay. I'm gonna pause the recording real fast. I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Okay.
We have now done the 3 of the 4 categories. Hopefully the next rounds will go by faster. But then we're gonna take a quick break, and then we will do Red versus the Karate Master. So that's gonna be interesting. All right, we're back. Time for the miscellaneous category. We have our number 1 seed Red versus who is by the way the protagonist from Gen 1, the canonical protagonist, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Red is because Blue is the like non-canonical protagonist, right?
No,
I think that's right.
No, Blue is the canonical rival.
Yes, and Red is who you
Blue
are.
is the canonical rival. Okay.
Because in Johto is when you face the old when you face Red.
Yeah, he's called
Red.
Red.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's referred to Red.
And it's essentially who we thought was Ash back when we were kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to make the next matchup a little bit weird. We'll get to it when we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So we have Red, the canonical protagonist of Pokemon, the most important character in all of Pokemon, versus the one person on this list that doesn't actually have a name, the Karate Master.
He gets a name, but it's one of those things where like you have to dig to find it.
All right, so Mike, the criteria for you being on this episode is that you know who the Karate Master is. Yes. So what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I mean, I don't think you can vote anybody but Red. for me at least, I have to go red because one, he's got Charizard, he's got Blastoise, he's got Venusaur, and it's who you play as. So Karate Master is just some jerk that was keeping you away from, and then makes you choose between Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, and you have to make that choice and then be upset with yourself because you can't get the other one. So fuck you, Karate Champion.
That's actually a really good point.
So there's I'm red, simple.
That you have to choose between one or the other. Where are you at, Jordan?
So again, this is just all about world building for me, and and he like the Karate King at least gets like some points build because like you find them in Saffron and you find out that they used to be the gym, but they lost to Sabrina's psychic powers, which makes sense because they're fighting types.
Yeah.
and like I think that's even like because I don't remember seeing it in the anime, but I think that's something they carried it over into the anime. And he's
definitely in the anime. I don't remember how it's handled.
And he shows up on in Gen 2. Like he's one of the extra like post game characters you meet on Mount Mortar before you fight Red. So like they keep him around, and like I said, like I found out like just by checking Bulbapedia, I kind of missed it when I played it first through, but he's an XY too. Like he's still out there trying to be like the best fighting dojo karate guy out there. So like I mean for like world building and stuff like that, that's kind of cool. And like I mean it makes him less of like an asshole than keeping you from fighting the other things and stuff like that. But yeah, Red is way above him, and just so much.
Yeah, it's not really fair.
Even just the fact of how Red has evolved into what he is now today, like the fact that he's now actually a separate entity from Ash Ketchum, like in Pokemon, in like Pokemon, what is it like there's like a Pokemon gacha game like Pokemon Trainers or something like that, where you play as Pokemon trainers or you play against other ones. They've had special events where Red and like Red, Blue, and Green, like the girl sprite are like the starting people and stuff like that you talk to, and you can get Ash Ketchum, like he shows up and they have these interactions where it's like weird and awkward and it's fun and it's funny and it's just hilarious because he's also in Ultra Moon and Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, because him and Blue show up and like, oh yeah, we're on vacation, but we'll manage like basically what is like the battle tower, the battle tree competitions at the end. They'll do something, which again I love because he never speaks a dang word. His lines are always dots. Like he's just straight face. Everyone has to interpret things for him.
Yeah,
and because that's stoic face, and it's absolutely hilarious that they've turned that into what he is, to the point where like they'll make fun of it and call it out, but he'll still do it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the silent protagonist thing too is something for a long time. I couldn't get into video games that had a protagonist that talked. It's probably because of Red. So yeah, I think unfortunately, Karate Master, you may have been able to beat some of the gym trainers. You may even have been able to beat Sabrina, but you can't beat Red. I was actually thinking about voting for Karate Master, and then Mike reminded me that he makes you choose between Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan in the first game, and that's really frustrating. Like you should at least be able to go beat him a second time and take his second one or something.
They really wanted you to have a friend.
They wanted you to buy both cartridges, what they wanted, which I did, by the way.
No, that's what I did. But they try very hard to make it sound like, oh yes, we want you to buy one, get someone else to buy the other one.
Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't perfect, and I mean, granted, in around and pretty quickly they introduced breeding, which made it possible to because like the issue isn't even that you have to choose between one or the other. The issue is that like I choose one, and if my friend wants to trade with me, I'm not going to trade him that because I'm not going to trade him that because that's the only one that I have. I mean, I guess you could technically trade and it would still count towards your Pokedex, but we didn't know that as kids. So probably what would happen is we would do the thing where you turn your Game Boy off real fast in the middle of the trade,
I remember that.
and then it
Or
one of them
the idea
completes
that
the
you
trade
could
and the other one doesn't.
the idea that you could trade them back sometimes was lost on kids.
Oh yeah,
Which-
that's true. Well, but it's like,
Well,
it doesn't feel like
it feels like it feels weird, but because it also means that it's kind of like they're marked because a traded Pokemon always gets more XP and stuff like that,
Mhm.
even back in Gen 1. So
Yeah.
even if it's your Pokemon with your owner, which I think the original trainer stuff
no,
was
if
only
it has your trainer code, it doesn't get the bonus.
Oh, okay, so that was something they changed in later gens then.
That's I'm at least I'm like 97% sure because we did do the trade
I'm
and trade back
pretty
thing.
sure Kendall's right.
Okay.
But it does show in your Pokedex if you've ever owned it even after you
Yes.
trade.
And that's
so
what
you
mattered
could
to people.
so you could have completed, so that actually, now that we're talking about it, like you could have completed the Pokedex by doing stuff like that, but still it's
There's people like
but
me
they
who
didn't
wanted to just
communicate
have
that,
one
and
or
they
the other
didn't, and they
one,
made it
yeah.
sound like your goal was to catch em all. And if I'm going
Yeah.
to catch em all, that means that I guess it's not have em all, it's catch em all. So anyway, we're not going to spend, we just spent 8 minutes talking about the most one-sided matchup in the whole bracket. So
No, the next one is the most one-sided because it's the same person.
I guess it is. Well, so my intention here was that it was Blue versus Gary, as in Blue, the blue version protagonist, versus Gary, the rival. But if Blue is the blue version protagonist and also the rival, and Gary is just the rival from the anime, but he has 12 badges. So
I can at least say this, that at least in the anime they actually do more with him later on in the series. Like he comes back, he becomes he becomes a researcher, like he follows in his grandfather's footsteps. He like, I know like Ash is the main protagonist and there's a side protagonist in later series and stuff like that they kind of do, like what's his name, Go, I think his name is, like he has like a new rivalry with Go, and it works kind of like, he's not the same kind of like childish jerk, but it's still the kind of thing, like, yeah, he's still kind of always ahead and a little bit better if he's got to really work to kind of get one up on him and stuff like that. So like both of them I've definitely still played very well there, and there are some differences between him and Gary Oak. And like I said, like in the that gacha game I mentioned, and in Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, like Blue definitely looks and feels different than Gary Oak from the anime. So like there's differences. As for which one I'd go for, I think I kind of would go for Blue on the basis that he's nicer. like compared to like how he is in the anime, like he's
That's a fair point.
he's a jerk a bit in the game, but after the game, from that point on, he's just like a friendly rival.
Okay. Yeah. Mike, I'll give you the last word, but I think Jordan's convinced me.
Okay, so you're going Blue?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Blue too. I was going to do it anyway just because I like Blue better than Gary. Same guy,
right.
and I will die on that hill, but
I love
Gary's
the
an
smell
asshole
you later, and you're right, but you are right, like specifically if we're seeing him as the game antagonist, then yeah, then yeah, he's the things that I like about Gary all come from, or about the rival all come from the game. I like him saying "smell you later." I like him every time you beat him, and then he's like, I thanks for the battle. I feel like I'm ready to take on the Elite Four. You need to still work though. You need work though. Like like he's got that edge to him. And then I do think it's cool that he settles down to become a gym leader, because that is a good, like it's a very like you're it's like you're you're the high school football coach, or the high school foot quarterback or whatever, who sort of ended up settling into like a perfectly feasible job. I like that. All right, so now we're into the Elite Eight. Misty versus Lieutenant Surge. So I mean, Misty is one of my favorite characters in all of Pokemon. She's just got something about her. Um, I loved her in the anime. Um, but Lieutenant Surge, you're right. He's the stereotypical American, and Bandit Keith in Yu-Gi-Oh is my favorite character. So I do love an American stereotype in an anime. So what do you think? What do you think, Mike?
Easy Misty. I like I. If
Yeah.
you don't notice, I like female characters better than male characters. They already get the upvote. Misty's better than Surge. Surge is just an asshole, and he fought in the war, so screw him.
All
The only
right.
person that fought in his own illusionary war.
All right. And Jordan, where are you at here?
I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I do like the American stereotype that games and shows and stuff use. And by the way, for an absolute hilarious one, if you ever watch Yakutaki Japan, keep an eye out for a stand-in that they keep using called Kid as like an American. It's absolutely hilarious how much they use that character again and again. But I still think I have to go with Misty. I just a little bit more like her better.
All right. So the best early game gym leader in Pokemon Gen 1 officially is Misty. Congratulations, Misty. I'm sure this will do wonders for your career. Late game gym leaders. We have Blaine versus Giovanni.
This is another really hard one.
This is a tough one. I think I know where I'm at.
I know where
I'll share that. So Blaine has a great moment in the anime, and I mean his also I will also say, I don't think we mentioned one of my all-time favorite web comics was that one where it was like the kid that grew up in Pallet Town versus the kid that grew up on Cinnabar Island, and the first gym leader he fought was Blaine. And he's like, rah! I do like that a lot. But yeah, Blaine is kind of, there's only so much to him. Giovanni has like this rich backstory. But he also has like I feel like Lieutenant Surge is a character that doesn't have a lot of canon information about him, but you can kind of use your imagination and think about like what he's been through some stuff, and there are some stories that could be told. I feel like Giovanni, not only do we have a bunch of stories, you fight him 3 times in the game. He's like the Dr. Claw of the Pokemon anime. And then he also has this loss of innocence thing. He's like, I mean, he's basically Walter White. Like he contains multitudes. That's where I'm at. I think it was a tough one, but I think Giovanni is the solid choice here. Where are you at, Jordan?
I kind of it, like I said, like it really is hard for me because there's just so much I kind of like about Blaine and stuff like that. But like you said, and just because of the stuff they bring up and of how important Giovanni is and how much story there is more to him compared to Blaine, like we said, like he's not even in Gen 2, and he's still a character because of his absence. You know, like he leaves an imprint where, like, yeah, I'll always remember Blaine, and there's stuff I'll love about him, but in like a one-on-one battle, I kind of have to go with Giovanni over Blaine.
Okay. And I'll also say that, like, looking at the next round, Misty versus Giovanni is a much more interesting discussion than Misty versus Blaine. So where are you at? Where are you at, Mike?
I'm gonna go Blaine. I mean, simple aspect. I like fire Pokemon better than I like ground Pokemon, even though he does have Nidoking and Nidoqueen, but he's the head of a terrorist group, so I'll go with the Crouchy Old Man. I'm going so, hey.
They're not. I wouldn't call them a terrorist group. They're more like it's more like organized crime. It's more like he's the head of the mafia. But
okay.
But I'll grant
that's
you that.
fair.
Crime family.
Still,
it's okay. Giovanni's still
I know he still won.
Better than Aqua and Magma, who are eco terrorists.
Right.
Good point.
Oh yeah, no, there are definitely villain groups who you could call terrorists. I think I think probably team. Oh, what is it? Team Plasma. That's PETA.
I can't remember. I haven't played far enough.
I think that's Plasma.
I'm pretty sure.
Like that's the one
Team
with
Plasma.
That's black and white with
black and white,
N, right?
Yeah.
Like N's part of the. Like they have Colress is also like one of the character, like one of their admins, and he's like a scientist type that comes up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think some of the better rival team or like enemy teams are the ones that are goofy, like Jesse and James in the anime as Team Rocket are absolutely amazing. But I kind of feel for Team Skull just because they're just idiots who are like, we couldn't make it as Pokemon trainers and health, and even our laid back country of Alola. So we're just trying to stick it to the man and get our own and do what we want.
I really liked the I forget what they were called, the ones from Scarlet and Violet.
Oh, Team Star.
Yeah, Team Star, because they weren't even. I mean, they weren't even really villains. They were just people that didn't fit in, and they just they just kind of caused a little bit of a ruckus. But anyway.
And I think
perfect. Perfect for the way that game with being open world and stuff. People give Scarlet and Violet too much hate. I really enjoyed that that game. Like that was everything I wanted out of an open world Pokemon game. But I haven't played Arceus yet though. So someday.
And I think like in Shield and Armor and Shield and Sword, they're what is it? They're
soccer fans. Yeah, they're just fans.
Yeah, they're soccer hooligans.
Which I liked, and I liked Sword and Shield too. I think Sword and Shield did a really interesting thing where they were like, we know that we're the first proper console Pokemon game, so let's make the gym battles like make them into an event, and they did a really good job with that, and the Gigantamaxing and everything. So now for who is the best member of the Elite Four, and this is tough. Lance versus Agatha.
I disagree that this is tough.
Okay. Well, I have a feeling this might be the one that the first one that I don't get my vote. Cause I think I have to vote for Agatha here. Like she feels like the underdog. And I just like her I don't remember what Lance says when he when you battle him. And I now, unlike Bruno, I actually read what he has to say. Bruno, I like fast forward through. But Agatha says, she talks about, when Professor, he was great when he was younger, but now he just sits at home playing with his Pokedex. Like, I don't know. I really, she's got this like edge to her that I really like. She's kind of the last, like, yeah, Lance is just, I don't know. He's I mean, obviously the last villain is your rival, but um yeah, I gotta go with Agatha here. She's got that little bit of a I don't know. I think she's just a little more interesting. What are you thinking, Jordan?
Um, it's another tough one for me, but like in last one, if I went with Giovanni over Blaine, I kind of have to go over Lance over Agatha. Just the fact that he comes back, the fact that he represents a style of, because there's dragon tamers are and trainers in Pokemon World all have capes. Uh, you know, there's, and I think there's like a couple of other things that he appears in and stuff like that. Like, but it is a tough one. Like, I really do like Agatha, and sadly, like I think Lance edges out just a bit above her, but you know, at
Okay.
least it's not like it's a good fight.
Yeah, yeah. Mike, where are you at? You said you think this is an obvious one.
It's obvious for me because again, Dragon Pokemon, Lance. I can't help it. It's just cooler to me. So,
All right.
yeah. Again, I just don't care for Ghost Pokemon.
You know, I didn't really. I only grew into liking Ghost Pokemon much like by what was it? I think Diamond and Pearl, when I realized every entry of Ghost Pokemon is terrifying. I like, there is some horrible thing about every Ghost Pokemon. And again, like, I think there was someone who pointed out, like, in the first bunch of sets of Pokedex, you realize it's just kids going around filling in what they think they know about Pokemon, and by the time you get to the Rotom Dex in Alola and Ultra Moon, you actually have a Pokemon telling you about other Pokemon, so it's kind of changes things, and but it still doesn't change how a lot of the Ghost Pokemon are. There's still like how what's the Phantomp is the soul of dead children who get lost in the woods. How you shouldn't look into the back of a Shedinja or it'll steal your soul. And what's the first thing that happens whenever you throw a Pokemon out in the game is you're looking right at its back.
So we're gonna test Jordan's theory here because I got my Pokemon of the Day calendar, and yesterday we had Lampent, who's a ghost Pokemon.
Hey, Lampent. Yeah,
the middle evolution of Litwick. It lurks in cities, pretending to be a lamp. Once it finds someone whose death is near, it will trail quietly after them. In other words, Jordan is right.
Every single one has something that just is like, oh, this is like even the most innocuous ones. Drifbloom steals children. You know, like the happy looking ghost balloon Pokemon. But it doesn't have the strength. It's too light, so it can't really pull them away.
All right. Okay. But you still voted for Lance, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, in terms of why I've come around on Ghost Pokemon, it's just that realization.
Okay. So next up,
classic.
I just held up my Red versus Blue DVD, which I bought. I bought the DVD because apparently Warner Brothers is shutting down Rooster Teeth, which is lame. But so Red versus Blue. So we've got the canonical protagonist, awesome character from Pokemon Origins, versus Blue, who we've decided is better than Gary. Yeah. I don't know. I'm starting to have a little remorse there, but that's okay.
Too late now. He lost the bracket.
No. It's too late. You're right. I think I would have been outvoted anyway, but
you would have.
But yeah. So where we think? What are your thoughts, Mike?
Well, I think it's one of those things you have to think about. What is your connection to the characters? For me, Red being the character that you play as, essentially, plus he has the starter, so it automatically gives him a step up. That's kind of where I'm going with this. I mean, plus anyone that has freaking Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise in their starting lineup, and Pikachu. I mean, right there, you got all your base cover. You got grass, water, fire, electric. Like, you can take out majority of teams right there, and he's just a cool character.
But
So,
Blue has a variety of Pokemon as well.
he does.
He has a starter, depending on
But hey,
the version. Sometimes he has Eevee.
Here's the key thing for me. He told me to smell you later, where Red just was me. So there's my key. There's my thing.
Okay.
Blue insulted me. So
also, if you're thinking protagonists, if you're just comparing protagonists, Red version is better than Blue version. So I'm on board. Where are you at? Where are you at, Jordan?
So I can definitely see an argument be made for Blue, just for the simple fact that, like I said, how Red is evolved as a character is that he is the stoic face that never speaks, and Blue has to basically speak for him. So you've got a little bit more characterization, but you still got character with Red, and he's got so much like how incredible was it to have that final battle with him on like Mount, like at the end of Gen 2, where you climb to the mountain and he's there and you face him, and like the wind, like in the Heart Gold and Silver, like they have the snow effect that dies down, like, so you see him just standing there alone before you fight him. Like it's epic. He's just one of those like top tier characters to.
Although in silver you fight Blue.
Yeah.
In Gold you fight Red. And Silver's better than Gold.
But Crystal, you fight Red.
Yeah, and Chris.
Nothing. I know you do, because that's what I played.
I mean, just it's kind of weird, but it's still also kind of like, like he's Red, and he's got like he's the one you can be, or he can be the epic one that is the champion. So the first, the always the one that even if he wasn't the one who won it first in the game, he comes on top first. So
all right,
all these like last ones have always been like, there's just this one little thing that pushes the other one above the other.
Yep. So red takes it there. So now our final four: Misty, Giovanni, Lance, and Red. So now Misty will take on Giuliani.
Well, in that case, Misty, 100%.
Rudy Giuliani. Sorry. Giovanni. Misty will take on Giovanni for the title of the best gym leader from Gen 1.
Hey, you know what? You were close, Kendall. Both are part of a crime syndicate. So.
Yeah.
I had to make the joke that you put it there.
So, okay. So this one's really close. So it's basically is. So I think the thing that edges this for me is that Misty is a rock solid gym leader in the games. But her character is really expanded in the anime, and she has, I mean, and honestly, is for as much time you spend with her in the anime, she doesn't get super developed. Eventually she has like a little bit of I think she eventually kisses Ash in one of the seasons I didn't watch. But whereas Giovanni, in like every incarnation that he's in, there's an interesting story there. So I think I have to go with Giovanni. And this has been interesting because we've been talking about these people, and I think Giovanni is my I always liked Giovanni, but I'm realizing that I liked him even more than I thought I did. What do you think, Jordan?
It's kind of a close one as well for me, but it's kind of also a little bit opposite, where like Misty's characterization seems a little bit more in the anime, but that's basically because they give her more time. So like even if it's slow coming and in drips and stuff like that, like it's more than what you see in Giovanni in the anime, because he usually is just sitting there petting his Persian, and like you only get one or two episodes where he's actually like a focus and talks, or in the movie. Uh, but in the games and like the stories behind it and stuff like that, there's so much more to him, and he's such a bigger presence. While Missy's just the Cerulean gym leader.
But it's like,
In
but
the games.
sometimes when he's just sitting there petting his Persian, there's more to him than 5 episodes featuring Misty.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's. I guess in just like one-on-one, in this case, I'm kind of leaning towards Giovanni.
Okay.
I really do like Misty, but I'm still kind of more for Giovanni.
Yeah, if you'd have before we started, if you'd have asked me this matchup, I probably would have picked Misty, but I think I've talked myself into Giovanni. Where are you at, Mike?
Have. I'm gonna go Misty. It's the only woman character we have left. So I'm gonna go Misty.
I do feel bad about that. Yeah.
It's early Pokemon. We don't have as many options.
She made it to the final four. She made it to the final four.
But I just like Misty in general, and I don't really care for Giovanni or Giuliani either. So
I don't care for Giuliani. And yet the bad guy wins. Giovanni moves forward.
Hey, we should go celebrate a 4 Seasons architectural place, right? For him. Maybe that's where he wants to go celebrate.
4 Seasons landscaping.
Yes.
All right.
This is gonna be a hard one.
So Lance
this is gonna be the hardest one.
Red. This is. So this is.
I gotta
is
go
rough.
first on this one.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Because I have been standing for Lance this whole time, and this is one where I'm as much as I love Dragon Pokemon, and I like his team, and I like who he is, and I like how he progresses through the series. I have to go Red. I have to double back on what I've been doing all this whole time because I just really like Red. I mean, I feel a little torn because I'm like dragons, and I'm a dragon guy. But Red's just awesome, and he has Charizard, so he has a Drake, And you know what? He's a silent protagonist, and if you're a silent protagonist, you're just like Chrono from Chrono Trigger, therefore you get extra 10 points. So, Red for me. There's my logic.
Okay, so I just realized this. I was going to make an argument, but then I realized that I lose the argument. Because this is apples and oranges, which obviously apples are better than oranges. And what color are apples? Apples are red. It has to be red. I was gonna use that as a because red is like a hot, and that's what the dragon color. But no, red is an apple because I don't like green apples.
Hey, green apples are good.
This is
Especially
my
wrapped
argument.
In caramel.
This is a very abstract, based on based on any criteria.
You weren't kidding.
So yeah, I think the answer is red. Is what I'm voting for. Where are you at, Jordan?
Honestly, I think it goes on. It depends on just what I'm feeling like on the day. This is so close to me because of just.
Well, what are you feeling today?
Things.
March 12th, 2024.
This is March. It's just like in basketball. One day Duke could beat Notre Dame, but does Duke beat Notre Dame today?
I'm kind of leaning.
Notre Dame has a basketball team, right?
I'm the wrong person to be asking.
Because of I'm kind of leaning towards Lance at the moment because of just the theming and he's a fun character and stuff like that. But honestly, I could change my mind in like tomorrow or something like that. So I'll put in a vote for Lance, but I'm not gonna like some of the earlier ones. I'm not gonna fight what the majority is on this one.
All right. So now we have. So now Lance or Red defeats Lance. Lance, that was a good run, but just like in the games, if you make it far enough to face Lance, then you're probably going to beat him. And we have
Most
the
of the
finals,
time.
or we would have the finals. But if you're watching the spreadsheet, we just
What are you
had
doing?
we just had the we it's actually now we're in the final four because there was a secret other bracket that Team Rocket
What?
and Ash are now up against each other for the to fight in the real finals. So Team
Oh.
Rocket, meaning Jesse and James, they get to break the rules and be two characters as one character versus Ash Ketchum, the protagonist from the anime.
So I'm biased because I played James in a LARP. And it was like one of the greatest fun things I had done. Like it was a part of a LARP, so it wasn't like out in the running around. But I effectively, at one point as James, used disguise to disguise himself as Jessie, disguised in her Jesselina costume, and entered a thing to like a Pokemon catching thing, and then like reveal that it was Jessie. Remove the one disguise to be the disguise of Jessie, and convince everyone. There were people that year did not know that there was only James. They thought Jesse and James was there because of that. Like like it was one of the most on character things that I've ever done for it, and there's so much fun stories about like in the anime. Jesse and James have some really great things. Lately I've been loving some of the artwork by what's her name, like K&R Mart or something like that, where she has like this AU where where Jesse and Ash's mom Delilah like started up a relationship, and she's like it kind of works, like connect, like you could see like a possibility that they would actually work, and those comics are amazing and wonderful. So I'm kind of leaning more towards Team Rocket than Ash. Like I like Ash, he's a fun character, but there's just something about Team Rocket that I just will always love a little bit more.
All right. I'm going to go next so Kendall can be the tiebreaker. I'm going to say Ash because I don't like Team Rocket and I like Ash more. Plus, I really want a certain final that I'm hoping that might not happen, but I'm going to at least throw my bucket in and try. So I'm voting for Ash. As much as an idiot he is, I still like him.
So I know you guys didn't see the bracket that it totally existed and I didn't just make up. But you know, Ash beat Youngster Joey. Team Rocket beat Nurse Joy and Professor Oak. I was surprised that Mike voted for Professor Oak. But you know what? Ash is so. I when I was a little kid, I just wanted my protagonist to be the guy that just wins every week. You know, but there's something, and I think it's an anime thing because it's true in Sailor Moon and it's true in other stuff. There's something about the fact that you win, that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The most important thing is your friends. The most important thing is everything, and that you try your best, that you're the best. You don't have to be the best that ever was. You just have to be the best that you can be, and that's Ash. And
I
so
would argue,
so
I would argue that's
frankly,
also Team Rocket.
so frankly, it looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Aw.
All right, so Ash is in the actual finals, but we have Giovanni versus Red.
I'm gonna go first in this case, just because I already know what you two are gonna say. So I'll just get it out of the way.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be the only one. I'm voting for Red because again, I don't like my mafia crime in my childhood game, and Red is me, as I've said already. So I have to go for Red. I can't help it.
Okay. Yeah,
Like, this is
actually,
hard for
I don't
both of
know
you.
where
I already know what
I
you're
feel
gonna
like
vote.
I feel like it's obvious where what my choice is gonna be, but I want to know what Jordan has to say on this.
These last ones have actually been really hard for me. Like, they're really kind of close. As I said, like, the evolution of what Red has become as an actual character, not just the silent protagonist that you insert yourself as in there, has really interested me. I love some of the things they've done with him. I love the looks. I just, like, I like how he's technically in Smash because he's back there in the foreground as you switch
Right,
around
as
the
Pokemon
characters.
trainer, yeah.
Oh, Pokemon trainer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's supposed to be Red. Like, he's just as important. And Giovanni also has it. Like, he has the pathos. He has his history. He has his story. He sees in Red what he once was and what he might be again. Like, they're really, really great. Both sides or like opposite sides of the coin kind of thing. But I'm gonna have to go with Red. It's just a little bit. It's one of those things where, like, who would I be glad to meet and, like, face to face?
Right.
And I would
Who
love
you
to meet
actually
Red.
wanna meet?
I would,
Yeah.
I would maybe want to, have a Pokemon battle with Red. I'd get creamed, but I would love it. I would love to meet him. I'd be worried when I meet Giovanni.
That's fair.
So a long time ago, I read on
far,
the
far
internet
away.
somewhere that, like, if someone is a fan of Breaking Bad or a fan of Fight Club or a fan of the movie Taxi Driver or any number of other movies or other pieces of media, like, that's okay if they like it because those things are good works. But if those are all their favorite things, there's a problem there. I say that as someone who likes Taxi Driver just a little bit too much. And also, and same thing with Citizen Kane. I mean, I don't think I think probably a lot of people like Citizen Kane, but still, it's like, again, just a little too much. Also, The Shining is another one that you kind of have to be worried about. That, again, is a red flag for me because I like The Shining a lot. And as much as I love Giovanni as a character, when I look at this and when I hear you guys talking, at the end of the day, I do want the good guys to win. And so my vote is also for Red. So now we have
Red versus Ash.
Red versus Ash. Which is, this is to be honest, this is the ultimate debate, because there's two types of Pokemon fans. There's red people and there's Ash people.
It's just what means more to you, the game or the anime?
Well, not just that. Are you, because Red to me represents, and since this is the finals and this is my podcast, I'm gonna start. Red to me represents the competent trainer, the person that the player that takes the game seriously. That this is, because like for, which is the type of player that I was for a very long time. Basically, I didn't know that JRPGs existed until like 5 years ago. So I thought Pokemon was the only game where you had turn-based combat that was interesting, basically. And so I thought it was, so obviously I thought it was the best version of that. And, you know, the complicated meta games, red players are, yeah, they're people who get into the meta game, who get into breeding, who, you know, min-max everything. If you're not into that, maybe you level all your Pokemon up to level 100. You try to beat the game as fast as you can. Ash players,
I have a box of raid specific Pokemon on my Scarlet.
Ash players are the ones that have a buddy in Pokemon Go that's just a Pokemon they like. You know, who they red players are like, I've played through this version before, I'm gonna box my starter. And Ash players, they every time they play Gen 1, their team is Pikachu, the 3 starters, Snorlax, and Eevee. And they don't evolve their Eevee. You know? So I don't know what kind of player I am, though. So
he goes through this whole thing. Like, I don't know.
So yeah. So what do you think, Jordan?
I agree. Like, I think that's a good way of explaining what it comes down to. Red being the confident, and the sad thing is that I have developed into being kind of a mixture of both. Because there are times when I will go out of the way to get some shiny things, and I'll pull, especially since they've made it so much easier now. Like, I'll pull the tricks to get it.
I always tell my wife on community day, I'm like, I remember when getting shinies meant something.
Yeah, like, do you want to know? My first shiny actually was in Diamond and Pearl. I never got a shiny until that generation. And not more than 30 minutes into Scarlet did I find a shiny Magikarp.
Oh, wow. Man, and it was a Magikarp, though, so you just evolves into a red Gyarados. Like, that's not even...
Yeah! But, I mean, it was fun to see a gold Magikarp flopping around.
So you just don't evolve the Magikarp, right? Is that...
No, I evolved it just because I wanted to make sure to get the Pokemon entry, but I'm kind of like, I've gotten to the point where, like, I'm now like, I'll try if it's like they do community-based stuff. It's chasing
shinies and Ash or a red.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's red seems like a little bit more of the technical things. He seems, like I said, like, if you had to go there, also, while he involves, like, you know, sometimes he do the strategies, sometimes he pull the things in, but he also seems like he would be the one who would also do the competitive. Like, he would know the meta of the game. He would do that. But also, he seems the kind of one who would, like, go to Smogon and make a set of Pokemon just because, like, yeah, he'll make a team that's powerful, but he'll go in and he'll like, oh, I'll go into the what's called the overpowered things where everyone agrees that these are all meta, and just, like, make a fun team. Or I'll make for this thing. Like, he'll do a special thing. He's the kind of guy who also, like my friend, who basically got what was it, Gulpin, the Herdier, basically all the Pokemon with basically long like facial hair and that looked like they had beards and call his team Mustache Rides. Like, he's the one who will do he embodies, yes, the technical side, but how to have fun with the technical side. Ash is goofy and will blunder through and will just do what he can, but he's also pure-hearted and, like, you know, there for his friends and stuff like that. Ash is kind of like the one where, like, okay, yeah, I'm only, like, halfway through the game, but if you need to trade things, I can do that, like, real quick for you right now. Like, he's the one who will drop things and spend like an hour like in Pokemon Union Circle or on what all the other things that they've done, like Pal Pass or the Pokemon Castle thing in Alola, you know, where you had to work with your friends to do stuff. They're that fun side too. So, like, this is a very technical, like, if you're doing it like that, it's really hard to pick, because I think they're both very important to how you have fun with the game. You can't you can't get too serious, and you can't have too goofiness, or it just makes
All right.
there's just no thing. So,
All right, Mike, what's the answer?
For me, I have to go red. I agree with what you guys saying. I mean, I am the guy though that just uses the Pokemon that that the starters and everything when I play yellow, but I just like red better. Ash is a fucking idiot. So he is. He loses too much. Red beat the Elite Four.
no. I'm gonna say, just as character wise, I probably would go with Red too, because as I said, I like Team Rocket better.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, if you want to go for like how play styles, I think it's not fair that you have to have both to be balanced.
Okay.
And I'm not sure where I am if I had to go by the play styles.
Okay. So you don't have to go by the play styles. It's who you're voting for to win.
So
it's by any criteria. I just happened to say, like, I frame that's how I framed it as an interesting pairing. My vote is for Ash. So it sounds like Mike's vote is for red. Is that correct?
It's red, yes.
Okay. So Jordan,
Locked
it's your call. This is the most important decision you're going to make in the year 2024.
I'm going to have to go with red.
All right.
Just as a character, I kind of like red better. And again, it comes down to, like, who would I like to meet? I'd be mad if I met Ash. I'd be ecstatic to meet Red.
You'd be mad if you met Ash?
because like, well, at this point, especially like in early on, like you said, like there's times when he's like, I'm so mad that you and all the stuff you did. I'm glad he has grown as a character. I'm glad that he finally got a definitive, like, in the series, you are a Pokemon like champion thing. Like they said that to cap off his thing. And I'm glad that, they're also not going to just keep stringing him along to just make more series, that they are actually, like, going to move on to another character so that they actually give him a finale. Like, he's grown, but there are things that I would probably, unfortunately, would want to ask questions about that I would not be doing with if I met Red.
All right. Also, it's very in character for Ash to get to the finals and then lose.
Well, hey, he also cheated his way there, so
he did cheat his way there. That's you're absolutely right. All right.
Is it cheating when the other one let them win, though? I mean,
it's cheating when the guy who made the bracket didn't put him in the bracket.
Oh, I thought we were keeping up a bit.
I mean, it is. Well, yeah, when he was fighting against the bug catcher, the bug catcher got stung by a bee drill, and when he was up against, I don't know, the sailor on the SSN, the sailor got seasick. It was just one thing after another. They just kept not showing up.
A few of them just said, "Oh no, we'll let you go."
He's picking the lowest character he could find to have Ash go against, just to make sure Ash wins.
When he was up against the kid that had the Eevee in the anime, I don't know. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Mike hosts a podcast that is actually a bunch of podcasts on the Games My Mom Found
technically
feed. Is it just all Games My Mom Found?
Yeah, it's all Games My Mom Found. It should have been other stuff, but that ship has sailed a long time ago. So
whatever. It's never too late. But yeah, he does. If you like my stuff, his stuff is kind of like my stuff but with more video games. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably know all the stuff that I do. But Movie Roundtable, we just posted our Cool Hand Luke episode. And lots of Star Wars card stuff. And I posted a very, very long video about the video game Lies of P on YouTube, on the Kendallcast Network YouTube. 0 views so far. So if people could watch it, that would be nice. And then Jordan, do you have anything you want to plug?
I've been mostly, silent. I still kind of bounce around there. I know somewhat. There's a podcast coming out soon called Battle of the Blorbos, where they basically did something like this, where but it's just random fictional characters people love. Like you come up, you say who your favorite character is, and then they just start. Well, how would they do? Like if it was this person and this fictional character, and they had to build a treehouse, who would win? Like one of those things, and they like grab 5 people, pick 5 fictional characters, and just go through it and try and put them on a tier list, kind of like in Let's Place, where where they go up or down depending on how they win. I was on one of those episodes defending Silverbolt, so and unfortunately he got into some bad lineups. So like there was literally one where like who would be better as a bad guy, and like he was the worst at being a bad guy because he failed at it and became a good guy.
All right.
So keep an eye out for that. Like
cool.
It's called, like I said, it's called Battle of the Blorbos.
Cool. Yeah. Speaking of Let's Place, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they brought up IL-2 Sturmovik. The amount of random video game knowledge that I have from listening to Let's Place for all that time is kind of funny. So go listen to Let's Place. If you liked this, they rank stuff by arbitrary criteria, except for I think they haven't been active in a few years. But anyway, thanks for listening. Until next time, remember you are the very best, like no one ever was. This podcast is a production of the KendallCast Podcast Network. You can support the show for just $2 a month at patreon.com/KendallCast or make a direct donation through the PayPal link at kendallcast.ninja. Every little bit helps.